What's going on, guys? Motonosity here. Hope y'all are having a great day. I'm so excited for what we're doing for the R6 today, so let's just get started. That is, well, not stock, but that is with the stock gearing on my 2017 Yamaha R6. Today we're going to be doing one of my favorite performance modifications that you can make on any sport bike, and that's a chain and sprocket kit. Now, if you're not familiar with this mod at all, it's something that guys on motorcycles do, something that guys in cars do. For example, back when I had my E46 M3, stock, I want to say it comes with 353s. And I put 391s in it. Back when I had my Mustang, I put 410 gearing in it. And with my Jeep, because I lifted it and put bigger tires on it, I changed to 488s. But with motorcycles, the gearing changes that you can make, you make by changing the number of teeth on the sprocket. So you have a front sprocket, that's the countershaft sprocket, and that's on the front of the chain, like more towards the front of the bike. And then the rear sprocket, the one on the rear wheel, that's the one on the rear of the chain. And by changing the number of teeth, you change the size of the sprocket, and therefore how much the rear wheel is turning for every revolution of the countershaft. By changing these, you can toy with the acceleration or the top speed of your motorcycle. Now, most guys will change the sprockets on their bike to be more towards acceleration. They want to get more acceleration out of their motorcycle and lose a little bit of top speed. But one of the most popular changes that people will do on sport bikes is one down and two up. Now, that's not what I'm doing on this bike. I didn't want to go quite that extreme. Granted, that's not crazy extreme, but I like the feel of this bike. I think it has a good balance of acceleration and top speed, but I want to squeeze out a little bit more acceleration out of it. I came from an R1, so I want to get a little bit of that back, and I'm not able to reach the red line top speed on this bike anyways. If you want to watch the video where I did the top speed run on this bike, I'll link that down in the description or on the screen right now. But I'm okay with losing some of my theoretical top speed since I wasn't able to hit it anyways, and I want to get some of that acceleration back. So that's a little bit of explanation on sprocket changes. The last thing that I'll note for you guys, the most important thing, if you go down in teeth on the front sprocket or up in teeth on the rear sprocket, you're gearing more towards acceleration. If you go up in the number of teeth on the front sprocket or down in the number of teeth on the rear sprocket, then you're gearing more towards top speed. And roughly one tooth in the front equals one tooth in the rear. So if you go down one tooth in the front, it's equivalent of doing about up 3 teeth in the rear. So I have a 2017 Yamaha R6, and the stock gearing on this bike is 1645. Now, as I mentioned before, probably the most popular change is down 1 in the front, up 2 in the rear. I don't know why that's the most popular change. I think most people do it now just because they aren't familiar with chain and sprocket like changes, and they just do some research, and that's what most people recommend because that's what they first heard. So that's what they do. I did down 1 in the front on my R1. That was kind of the best balance for me on that bike. I think it's going to be the best balance for me on this bike as well. I'm just doing down 1 in the front, so I'm doing 15 in the front, and it's going to be the same stock 45 in the rear. And like I said, I'm just trying to squeeze a little bit more acceleration out of it. I want to maintain as much top speed as I can. I typically go to Circuit of the Americas, the F1 track here in Austin, and that's a really big track with some long straights. And so I want to keep some of that top speed on the bike. But it kind of just depends on you, depends on your riding, whether you're just street, whether you're just the track, whether you care about top speed or not, and what kind of bike you have. But we'll probably get a couple more runs here on the way back. And there's one more thing that I want to talk about before we do this install. Quick note, if you guys are interested in the stuff that I'm using today, the chain that I got, the sprockets that I got, all those will be linked down in the description so you can get exactly what I got, because, you know, Motonosity knows best. But when you change your sprockets, you're gonna wanna also change your chain. So this is the same kind of sprocket. It's a driven sprocket that I had on my R1. I like driven stuff. I think they make good products. If you get a hard anodized sprocket, it's kind of gonna be the same thing no matter what brand you go with. This one is aluminum. I personally like running aluminum rear sprockets on my bikes. You have the choice of steel or aluminum, and then some companies make sprockets that are a mix of both. Like the inside will be aluminum and only the teeth portion will be steel. I like running aluminum. It's got a shorter life unless you're just trying to save as much money as possible and you want your sprocket to last as long as possible. I just go with aluminum, but it's up to you. Do your own research, figure out, wow, I almost nailed myself in the eye. Do your own research, figure out what you want best, but God, I did it again. I like aluminum. All right, so when you change your sprockets, you're always gonna wanna change your chain at the same time, because as you ride your bike, that chain and sprocket kind of mold together. Not like they blend, they don't combine, but the chain will go around the sprocket and it'll wear down the teeth in the shape of the links going around on the chain. So when you change your sprockets, if you don't change your chain at the same time, they're not gonna sit well together. It's gonna just provide more friction. Now you have a lot of different choices with chains. There are a lot of different kinds out there. Most places that you buy your chain from, they usually sell them in kits, so you don't really have to think about it much. You can choose the colors. The chain that I went with though is the RK Max chain, Max X-Ring chain. I always told you guys that I was a huge fan of the EK3D chain that I used to have on my R1. That chain is pretty much like the top-notch chain that you can buy. It's made to handle a lot of horsepower, but on a 600cc bike, I don't necessarily need that much strength. And with something like this, it's still gonna provide 90% of the strength that that EK3D chain that I had would provide, plus it's cheaper, plus it's lighter, plus it comes in colors. Now, you heard me mention 520 chains. So you see here, 520 max. That just refers to the chain size. Most bikes either come with a 525 or a 530, but most people do a 520 conversion, and that's just because the aftermarket chains are really strong that you don't need to run a 525 or 530. The 520 is gonna be plenty strong enough, and it'll shave you some weight. So again, those are the different things that I went with. You can check the links for those down in the description. It's not that hard of an install. I'll show you guys everything that you have to do here, and then we'll test out the bike after we get installed. So that's one of the easiest and cleanest ways that you can remove a chain. I'll link this little tool down in the description. If you have a grinder or some sort of like small Dremel tool that can grind off the head of one of these, that is the easiest way. So what I did, I just used the grinder, ground this down so that it removed this head. And that way I could just use this tool super easy, and that way I won't break this. And you can just shove that little rod that goes through the link right off the other side, fall apart, and you're good to go. All right, so I got the wheel off. All we're gonna do is remove all the sprockets, or all the nuts on the sprocket. There's 6 of them here. Lift the sprocket off, put the new sprocket on, bolt everything down, slide the wheel back in, and we can move on to the chain. Now I got some new sprocket nuts from Driven as well. Wanted something a little bit cleaner. So let me show you where we're sitting at right now. So, word of advice, leave the stock chain on. I don't know why I took it off first. Before you even lift the bike off the ground, it's probably smart to take, or at least loosen, the countershaft nut, the front sprocket nut. Here, that big one that I just put on. It'll make your life a lot easier if you loosen that up first. So anyways, I got that off. Put the new front sprocket on and put that nut back on. We have to shorten up the chain for the number of links that I need. I'm gonna do this the same way that I did when I was taking off the stock chain. So I'm gonna grind off that head, shove it through, and then I'll use this master link to replace that link right here. And it'll combine these two. All right, so I think I'm just about done. What I just did was install the master link, and I did it with a riveting tool. I'll link that down below. I like to do this on my sport bikes. I don't bother on like my Supermoto. For those kind of bikes, smaller CC, I usually just use a clip. But for these, I want to be really certain that that chain is gonna stay on and that I'm not gonna have to worry about losing a clip or anything like that. So I use one of those riveting tools to put the master link on. Here's how it works. You put it on, and what it does, it uses a pin to press into these rivet tips, and it spreads it out to hold on this link right here. The only thing you have to do is make sure that you don't press it too much so that these become too weak and they can't hold it on and they can break off. You also gotta make sure that you measure properly, or like me, you just do it by eye really well, to make sure that the plates are the same width. So this link that we install here is the same width as every other link. I don't have a caliper tool, but if you do, that's the best way to do it. Use that to make sure that you know the correct width that the link should be. But I just did it by eye. I did the same thing on my R1, worked out great, never had a problem. So that is on. The only thing that we have to do now, put on all the bolts and adjust our chain. I'm probably also going to clean up the chain. The chain grease that comes on these things is just so freaking thick, and I like to use just regular chain lube since it's a lot lighter. It's not gonna fling off nasty grease everywhere. So I'm probably gonna do that as well. We'll get this all cleaned up and we'll go out for a ride. It's dark, but we'll still go out for a ride. Let's go. Holy crap. Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. Okay. That feels so freaking nice. I made the right choice. I made the right choice. Now let's see how the speedometer looks compared to GPS. It was off by, maybe 3 miles per hour, and that's at pretty much any speed. It read pretty accurately towards GPS, and it didn't change. It didn't change as a ratio of the actual speed. See, a lot of times with the stock speedometer, the faster you're going, the more off it is. With this bike, that's not really the case. Like when I did my speed runs, it was still off by about 3-4 miles per hour. Speedometer reading 61, GPS reading 59. So yeah, it didn't change. It's reading the wheel correctly. It's so freaking dark, and I got my smoked visor. This chain, it feels so smooth. Oh crap. Okay. I was like, dang it, I don't have rear brake. But I forgot that I had pressed the plates, or the pads apart. Just had to press it a few times, and pistons push those pads right back in. I'll link all this stuff down below, the chain, the sprockets, the tools that I used, so you guys can do all of this yourself. Freaking pulls. That is so nice. It can get up in that power band a lot easier. It just climbs the rev so fast. Probably tomorrow, maybe the next day, I'm gonna take this thing on the highway. We'll do another speed run. Probably when it warms up just a tad, or at least we got sunshine and it's not wet. I don't want there to be wet spots, but we'll figure out what the top speed on this thing is now. But preliminary thoughts, I am very happy. Lord, that thing freaking just launches. Oh, that's nice. I gotta get this thing on the track. Well, that's gonna be it, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope it was helpful for some of you guys. If it was, make sure you hit that like button. If you got a friend that is looking to do that, make sure you share this video with them. I'm Motonosity. I put out videos as often as I can. Sometimes it's every day, sometimes it's not every day. This has been a 2017 Yamaha R6 chain and sprocket kit install. All links will be down in the description. Y'all are awesome. Remember, life's better with horsepower. Keep life lived. You can get all my merch at motonosity.com/shop. Link is in the description. Y'all have an outstanding day. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.